Okay, see this thing behind me? This is a characterization of this expression that we use, the man in the moon. And where does the man in the moon come from? Well, it's kind of like an old, like folk tale. Uh, Back before they had television and things like that, they didn't have a lot to do but to look up at the moon and pay attention to the natural surroundings. So somebody looked at the moon and they thought it looked like that there was a face there. Uh, in Japan, they look at the moon and they think it looks like there's a rabbit, right, in the moon. So it kind of looks like that. It looks like there's a rabbit in a certain way. So they tell their children, look, there's a rabbit. Can't you see? Can't you see the ears? And if you look at it for a while, you can see it, right? So anyway, let's take a look at that. So if I look at the moon these days, after talking to enough Japanese people, I see a rabbit, right? Some people see a face in the moon, right? So like this, like a face. This is it's not usually this clear, right? But this has been kind of enhanced. So anyway, it's kind of like an imaginary figure. We say, look, there's a man in the moon. It's an imaginary thing. So we've got this expression, no more than a man in the moon, which means no more than an imaginary thing. Okay? So the man in the moon, the human face that you can imagine you see when you look at the moon. Okay? No more than the man in the moon means, I think this says considered to be insignificant, unimportant. Yeah, that's true. But you have to know that we have this thing, no more than the man in the moon, which means no more than an imaginary thing, right? So let me show you how this is used. Okay, so, or a figment of the imagination. That's basically how it's used. No more than a figment of the imagination. So, okay, let me go to this. Let me give you some examples. Two men who knew each other in high school meet for the first time in 20 years. They're good friends, right? They know each other pretty well, or they knew each other pretty well. Let's say they went to school together for 12 years and then they left their hometown and they haven't been back. They haven't seen each other for a long time. So they have this idea of each other, what the other person's like. So let's say it's Sam and Mike. So Sam says, "What have you been doing these days?" Mike says, "I'm a medical doctor. I work at Regent's Medical Center." And so Sam's like surprised, and he thinks that he might be telling a joke, or he's amazed at the great man that his friend has become. So he says, "No, seriously? Come on, you're no more a doctor than a man in the moon, right? You're no more a doctor than the man in the moon." And then Mike says, "Yeah, no, serious. Yeah, I went to medical school after high school." Okay. So here we go. Here's another one. Two men are out in the woods hunting. They see something run across the field and it looks like this, right? And Daniel says, "What the hell was that thing?" And Cody says, "That was a brown bear." And Daniel said, "What? No, that was no more a brown bear than a man in the moon. You need to have your eyes checked." Okay? So it means no more than, it means nothing or a figment of your imagination. The man in the moon is not real, right? So that was no more a brown bear than a man in the moon. Okay. So we got a sister and brother, they're talking. They're about the same age and they're always fighting and arguing, right? The girl says, I'm going to be a professional violinist. And the boy says, yeah, right. You aren't going to be a professional violinist any more than a man in the moon. Okay? So, commonly said. Now, where did I come up with the idea for this idiom? It's when I was watching this video that I showed you earlier. Okay? So, he says, this is no more a trial than a man in the moon. A trial means a court case. So they're talking about this guy. I think he's from Hong Kong, maybe, and the Chinese government is accusing him of something. So they're going to give him a trial. Or, well, this is old, right? But so the Chinese government's going to give him a trial because they've accused him of committing crimes against the government. But this, so.
Somebody who is determined to resist, I would never admit guilty.
Okay, so he's resisting the Chinese rule of, the Chinese made a new rule a few years ago about like committing acts against the government, and they enforced it on the Hong Kong people. I forgot what it's called.
What a shame. And we heard from his camp. Apparently there are 1,000 cops there, Chinese police, at Jimmy's trial. It's all in against Jimmy Lai in Hong Kong this morning, Secretary.
Maria, you know, sometimes in life you get a chance to meet real heroes. I had the chance to meet Jimmy Lai when I was Secretary of State. What a patriot, what a humanitarian, what a fundamentally decent believer in the core idea of human dignity. This is no more a trial than a man in the moon. He's going to be convicted of human dignity. This is no more a trial than a man in the moon. Idea of human dignity. This is no more a trial than a man in the moon. He's going to.
So what he's basically saying is it's a fake trial. They're going to make it look like he's getting some kind of a legal, fair trial, but it's not really fair. It's not real. So he said it's no more a trial than a man in the moon, right? So that's the way it's always used. No more a something than a man in the moon, right? So you're at your job, and your coworker says that he worked 5 hours overtime, and you say you didn't work 5 hours overtime any more than a man in the moon, right? You didn't work 5 hours overtime any more than a man in the moon, right? So you didn't, and then the thing that you don't believe, any more than a man in the moon, okay? So I will talk to you on the next idiom.